Buying your first home is a huge accomplishment, and it's also going to be one of the most stressful times in your life. But to be honest, it doesn't have to be, and there's certain things you need to focus on to make sure you can make a sound decision about your home purchase that you'll be happy with for years to come. Now, there's a ton of mistakes that home buyers make, especially first-time home buyers. And over the course of over 270 transactions that I've been involved with on the buyer side since I became a licensed realtor in 2014, I've learned a lot about what home buyers regret after they purchase their first home. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the 3 biggest mistakes that I see first-time home buyers make here in the Halifax real estate market based on my own experience. But before I get into it, if you're new here, my name's Andrew Stevens, and I've been a Halifax realtor for 9 years now. And if you're looking to be educated on the Halifax real estate market, then this is the channel for you. So go ahead and hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And if you're looking to purchase a home in the Halifax area, you can reach out to me anytime to chat about it at my Calendly link below my description at a time when it's convenient for you. Okay, so biggest mistake number 1 that first-time home buyers make is focusing too much on the house itself. So there's a ton of things to consider when you're purchasing your first home, and to be honest, a lot of them have nothing to do with the house itself, such as location, school zones, commutes to work, where you are in respect to your family and friends. So in other words, where is your support system, what the neighborhood is like, what sort of lifestyle you're going to have living there, what sort of growth is to be expected in the neighborhood, and so on. In my experience, people think about the house way too much, and they opt for the house they like more in an area that they like less. And in my opinion, this is a mistake. The house is going to provide you some happiness, and the finished level of that house, of course, is going to provide you with some happiness. But the big thing when you're purchasing a home, especially if you're late 20s, early 30s, is the lifestyle and the neighborhood that it's going to provide to you. So all these little details make a huge, huge difference in your happiness, and all these little things will provide you with much more happiness than those nice quartz countertops will any day. When you're buying your first home, it doesn't have to be your forever home, and in most cases, it will not be your forever home. So you should put a lot of emphasis on the little things like the neighborhood, good bones. You want to buy in an area that's going to appreciate a lot in value over the years, and that way, when you're ready to move on up out of there in 4 or 5 years, you'll have lots of equity to put down on something that more closely resembles your forever home. Now, moving on to the second biggest mistake that first-time home buyers make, and this one is overextending themselves. Now, this is actually a 2-pronged point here. Number 1 is the obvious one, and this is overextending themselves financially. Yes, the banks will generally give you more money than you really need or that you really want, and that's just, it is the way it is. I don't really know what to say about that. But the point is, you shouldn't be thinking about what your total pre-approval amount is. You should be thinking about what are the payments associated with buying a home at that price point based on your down payment and so on. So the point here is, you're not just buying a home, you're buying the monthly payments that come with it. And this is a big thing that people overlook. They just see that they're pre-approved to $600,000 and they buy at $600,000, and then they get in there and start getting the bills and they start worrying about finances. But the point is, just because you're pre-approved to $600,000 does not mean that you have to buy that high. And generally speaking, we can get the utility bills and the tax bills and so on before you write your offer, so you can work all this into a monthly budget when you're considering how high you're going to offer on a specific home. And secondly, and a little less obvious, is number 2, and this one is overextending yourself by buying too much house. So there's a couple problems with this. Number 1, a bigger house means bigger utility bills and bigger maintenance bills as well. Plus, if you are a first-time home buyer coming from maybe a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, or maybe you're coming from your mom and dad's place, that means you probably don't have a lot of furniture. And by the way, furnishing a huge house is very, very expensive. And I personally learned this the hard way years ago. A lot of first-time home buyers that I talk to after the fact talk about that they bought too big of a house and they really don't need the space. And obviously, yes, you want to buy a home that you can grow into a little bit, but you also don't want a house that's too big and overwhelming for you to handle, both financially and just in general cleaning and all that comes with it. Now, moving on to my third biggest mistake that home buyers make, and this one is trying to time the market. Now, one of my favorite quotes that I've heard recently from a mortgage broker that I know out west said that timing the market is the errand of fools. And it couldn't be more true. It's honestly impossible to time the market. Yes, some people get lucky, but it's not really a logical way that they do it. If you remember back to 2021, and I certainly do, as this was an extremely busy year in the Halifax real estate market, everybody was saying the people buying homes in 21 are going to regret it and the market is going to crash. Well, here's the news flash for you. If you purchased a home in 2021 in the Halifax real estate market at the average sale price back then, you would have an average of about $100,000 of equity in your home today. So don't let the media stop you. Don't let the market conditions stop you. The important thing when you're buying your first home is to buy when you are ready, financially and emotionally. In Halifax, the market is generally going up, and since 1980, the market year over year, the average price points have only gone down one time, and it was only by a few $100s. And on average, we've seen a 5% price growth year over year since 1980. So there's lots of equity to be had there, regardless of the time in the market. And yes, some years are better than others, but the most important thing is to get into the market early and start building equity as early as you can. Now, this works in two main ways. Number one is trying to time it based on the market conditions, which is impossible. And number two is trying to time it based on your needs and your wants. So for example, if you were a buyer looking in 2021 and maybe you had a budget that would allow you to buy a semi-detached home, but you didn't want a semi, you wanted a detached. Okay, so you wait until 2022, and maybe by then, yes, now you can afford it because you've saved up the down payment, but the home prices have gone up in that time frame, and now the semi that you could have afforded last year is the same price as the detached home, and the detached home is still out of your price range. Now, that's obviously a silly example, and it's a little dramatic, but you get my point here. It's impossible to time it, so buy when you're ready emotionally and financially. Now, before we go, I'm going to give you one more, and this one's a bit of a bonus, and it's beat to death, but I feel like I need to talk about it in this video. And this is number 4, and this one is not hiring an agent. This is a huge mistake if you're a first-time home buyer. There's a very common misconception in our market that if you go through the listing agent, you'll get a better deal. This could not be further from the truth. The listing agent is contractually obligated to represent the seller in their best interests. So that means you as a first-time home buyer, especially if it's your first time buying, you should have your own representation too, and you need somebody looking out for you and your best interests. And that is where your buyer's agent comes in. And as a bonus, you rarely will end up paying your buyer's agent. And when I say rarely, I mean it's never happened to me in my entire career of over 270 buyer ends. This means that the seller is going to pay your buyer's agent on closing, and that's not going to come out of your own pocket, so you might as well take the free help and the free representation while you can get it. And to be honest, in the Halifax real estate market, there's virtually never been a harder time to buy a home here other than the last 3 years, so it's really important to get representation and to get help to guide you through that process. Oh, and by the way, if you have a parent that says they've moved a ton of times and they can help you and you don't need an agent and you're going to get a better deal, well, that parent in their 60 odd years of being on this earth has probably moved 4, 5, or maybe 6 times, and they consider that a lot. But keep this in mind. A top producing agent in Halifax is probably doing 4, 5, or 6 deals or more a month. So they have a ton of experience, way more than your parents. We do this for a living. This is what we get paid to do. Study the market, represent our clients. It's never, ever been a more important time to hire a buyer's agent. And I'm not saying that because you have to hire me. I'm saying you need to hire somebody who's experienced that knows what they're talking about. Now, if you're still here watching and you got any value out of this video, all I ask is that you hit that like button and you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future content. And that'll help push this out to more people like you who may be interested in seeing content about buying and selling real estate in Halifax. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. If you're looking to buy a home in Halifax and you want to chat, don't forget you can reach out to me anytime in the Calendly link below in my description whenever it's convenient for you. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support and have a great day.